On the business desk at this hour, labour unions are worried about the expected job losses at Goodyear as the company closes its only factory in South Africa. About 900 workers could lose their jobs with the closure of the tyre manufacturer's plant in the Eastern Cape. Goodyear announced that it has initiated a Section 189A process as part of its restructuring aimed at optimising its footprint and portfolio in Europe, the Middle East and the rest of the African region. However, the company said it will continue to maintain a distribution and retail presence in South Africa. Metal Workers Union Numsa's Phakamile Hlubi-Majola discusses this with us. Thank you so much for your time, Phakamile. Numsa has been vocal and has expressed dismay at these news. Talk us through the union's overall reaction to more jobs being on the line.
Afternoon, Tumisang, and afternoon to your viewers, and thank you so much for having me on the show. So yes, this is deeply distressing for the union for us to have received a Section 189 notice from Goodyear, South Africa, where they say in their notice that they're proposing a complete closure of the factory in Kariga. And what that would mean is that 907 direct jobs would be lost. But it is our estimation that you can expect many more jobs than the direct jobs at Goodyear to be shed, because in that area, particularly in the Eastern Cape, a lot of the these big companies, like Goodyear is one of those big companies, you will find that there's a whole value chain that actually depends on the existence of that particular company. So the closure of this factory, we think, will actually have the effects will be far worse than the 900 employees that they're referring to.
Having mentioned that, what role then will Numsa be taking and playing to defend these jobs?
So we are waiting for the CCMA to give us dates so that we can have formal consultation with the company and have more detail as to why they feel this is the only option. Because if you look at the notice that they served us with, they say in their notice that they don't see any alternatives. They think that the only option that they have is to shut down this factory. So part of the Section 189 consultation is that we will demand the financial statements so that we can see for ourselves if what they're saying is true, because one of the reasons they've given for the closure of this factory is that first of all, they don't feel as if the medium-term economic outlook it doesn't look good in South Africa currently. At the same time, they've mentioned closure of 2 plants in Europe, saying that they're experiencing contraction in Europe as well. So in their view, and the other reason is dumping of products from the Chinese market. So we want to obviously, interrogate what they're saying. And also we definitely will make alternatives with the hope of trying to save jobs there.
We've seen with the likes of ArcelorMittal that the state has come in to try and intervene and cushion against job losses. Is there an opportunity for such, given that this particular company, being Goodyear, has cited reasons around the domestic as well as the global economic landscape?
We're definitely going to be approaching government because, as you know, the Eastern Cape has among the highest unemployment rate in the country. It sits at 41.9%. So you can imagine what the impact would be, the socioeconomic impact would be in that province if this factory gets closed down, particularly because we do expect there'll be an impact along the value chain. So Numsa is definitely not ruling out engaging government the same way that we did on ArcelorMittal South Africa. I think also, people have to understand that in South Africa's context, where we are the most unequal country in the world and we've got such extremely high levels of poverty, we have a responsibility, every single one of us, to try and save jobs. So it wouldn't make sense for us to simply fold our arms and allow this to happen without doing absolutely everything possible in our power to try and find an alternative solution.
Lastly, what's Numsa's word on Goodyear joining other companies that have decided essentially to expand elsewhere, leaving the South African market as its base?
Well, I do think that South Africa definitely is a market that is worth investing in. The fact that we are the gateway to the African continent, we're still viewed as the gateway to the African continent. And I think one of the things that, is possibly missing from this conversation, which I personally am not hearing about, is about boosting trade on the continent and also improving and finding ways to benefit from the relationship that we have within BRICS. So, when you look at just those areas that I've touched on, you will realize that South Africa is very strategic. South Africa offers a great environment for investment. And of course, we'd like to see them consider. But, once we get into the room and we get more information about what the real situation is, then we'll be able to have a better sense of how we can adjust and obviously try and solve that crisis.
Thank you, as always, for your contribution. Phakamile Hlubi-Majola is the spokesperson at Metal Workers Union Numsa. They're talking to us about developments around Goodyear. They're closing their only plant in South Africa.